She's green, she's smart, and she's over everyone's attitude. College in Oz was supposed to be simple, but now she's stuck with a glitter-obsessed roommate and a world-ending mess no one warned her about. This is Wicked. Part 1. Everything begins in the wonderful land of Oz, where magic rules over all. But the last few years had been filled with darkness, sadness, and oppression, all because of the Wicked Witch of the West. What we see now are the remains of what's left in the chambers, posters declaring the witch as an enemy of the people, and the debris from a great battle that took place. The citizens of Oz are truly wondering if they'll finally be free from the feared Wicked Witch, until a voice finally confirms it. The witch is dead.
The Wicked Witch of the West is dead.
Winged creatures fly out across all of Munchkinland to reunite with the rest of the inhabitants and start the celebration in this colorful and impressive Emerald City. In this fascinating world, creatures of all sizes and colors cross the skies while children celebrate the witch's fall across the vast fields. Soon the entire town joins together in a grand dance to mark the end of an era of darkness. Glinda shows up in a giant pink bubble to announce that the Wicked Witch of the West is officially dead. The whole town goes wild, singing "No One Mourns the Wicked" and tossing flowers. Then a little girl asks Glinda a question. Why does evil even exist?
Miss Glinda! Why does wickedness happen?
That's a good question.
Glinda doesn't really have an answer, but she admits that even the Wicked Witch started out as just a kid with parents, long before things went wrong. She tells them that, in fact, the witch was the daughter of Governor Frexbarthrop and his wife Melina. But since the father spent a lot of time away from home, her mother had a forbidden relationship with another man and drank a mysterious green substance that marked her daughter's destiny forever. During the birth, bears and animals were helping with the delivery because here, everyone is a magical creature with the ability to assist and communicate. But the birth wasn't easy at all, and when the baby finally arrives, her skin is an inconceivably green color. Her extraordinary powers surprised everyone who witnessed the birth. Horrified and ashamed, her father ordered that she be taken away from his sight immediately, leaving her nanny Dulcibert to raise her with the love and care she deserved. Despite being rejected by her own father, Elphaba grew up as a sweet and kind girl, sharing her life with her younger sister, Nessaros, who was bound to a wheelchair and born before their mother passed away during childbirth. Elphaba would excitedly tell her sister the story of the Wizard of Oz, a powerful wizard who came from another world and built a magnificent city of emeralds because he loved emeralds more than anything else. But even as a small child, Elphaba suffered a lot of bullying because of her skin color. This made her little sister cry, and it filled Elphaba with rage. She used her magic to lift rocks from the ground and throw them directly at the children who were teasing her. Frexbar comes out to scold Elphaba when Nessa starts crying again. After that, the witch's life was never easy. The magic that flowed through her veins made her different, condemning her as the villain. Only Dulcibert stayed by her side, offering support and defending her goodness. Finally, the town says goodbye to the witch's memory with more songs and dances. They bring an enormous statue that resembles the witch and set it on fire while dancing around it. Once the dance is finished, Glinda prepares to leave again in her pink bubble, but a villager stops her and asks if it's true that she was friends with Elphaba the witch.
Is it true you were her friend?
Moved by the question, Glinda confirms her connection with her and prepares to tell the story of how that special friendship began years ago. We travel to the past in a magical boat on the lake, with colorful fish swimming around, until we reach the distinguished Shiz University, a school of magic where the brightest young minds come to study. This dazzling place marked a new beginning for many students. The atmosphere is filled with excitement and anticipation as new students arrive. There, Glinda used to call herself Galinda, and she arrives with confidence and style. She quickly befriends two students named Fanny and Shin Shin. She also meets Bok, a friendly munchkin from Munchkinland, who immediately develops a crush on her and follows her around, hoping to win her affection. The festive atmosphere settles in immediately as everyone begins to sing and celebrate the beginning of a new school year. Everyone begins to sing the school's anthem, Dear Old Shiz. But this atmosphere of joy soon vanishes when Elphaba appears. The students moved away, and even Galinda showed fear and hesitation, until Elphaba explained with some sarcasm that she had always been green. This wasn't something new, contagious, or temporary.
Let's get this over with. No, I am not seasick. I did not eat grass, and yes, I've always been green.
Galinda, trying to appear kind in front of everyone, embarrassed herself by making a big public display. She apologized and promised to help her with her problem once she obtained her degree in sorcery, as if being green was some kind of medical condition that needed curing. Everyone applauded her apparent kindness and generosity, but although her intentions seemed good on the surface, Elphaba didn't receive them well at all. She considered Glinda's way of offering help deeply offensive and condescending.
Offering to help someone that you don't know with skills that you don't have. I'm sure everyone is duly impressed.
And to make matters even more uncomfortable for Glinda, Elphaba even corrected her grammar in front of everyone.
I could care less what others think.
Couldn't.
What?
Making herself look even smarter and more educated than the popular girl. Shortly after, Nessa and her father arrived. He brusquely ordered Elphaba not to draw attention to herself and gave Nessa some shoes made of precious stones that had belonged to their mother. Nessa, the only one who treated Elphaba normally, reminded her that she would soon start a new chapter at the university with friends, books, and new experiences. When the new students were called, the sisters said goodbye. However, their father insisted that Elphaba follow Nessa to attend to her needs. Even though Elphaba pointed out that her sister wanted to be independent, the man insisted that she obey, and she did. Elphaba loved the school and its unique magic professors, although she continued to be avoided by other students. The attention turned to the arrival of Madame Morrible, the Dean of Sorcery,
Oh my goodness, it's really her.
who welcomed them by highlighting the high expectations for the new students. At the end of her speech, students were informed about the dormitory system. Glinda tried to charm her right away, but Madame Morrible barely blinked.
I am Glinda the Good. Perhaps you recall my essay?
I don't teach my seminar every semester. Of course, if someone very special were to come along.
This is why I wanted to talk to you. We'll be in touch.
Meanwhile, Nessa was warmly welcomed by Miss Caudle, at least until Elphaba showed up and introduced herself as the governor's other daughter. Even Nessa looked uncomfortable, since she thought her sister wouldn't be staying. Elphaba explained that their father sent her to look after Nessa, but Miss Caudle jumped in and insisted she would take care of everything. Elphaba tried to help Nessa with her wheelchair, but Nessa told her to stop and leave her alone. Overwhelmed, Elphaba lost control of her emotions and used her magic to lift Nessa into the air. The moment shocked everyone and made people even more afraid of her. Embarrassed and upset, Nessa left the room. A moment later, Madame Morrible arrived and brushed the whole scene off as a surprise demonstration to teach students to expect the unexpected.
Yes, that was me. To prepare you to expect the unexpected at Shiz.
She then asked who could share a room with Elphaba. Glinda stepped forward for her own reasons, but Madame Morrible assumed she was volunteering and instantly paired them up as roommates.
Thank you, dear. Very good of you. You can room with Miss Glinda.
What?
Before leaving, Madame Morrible pulled Elphaba aside and invited her to private lessons. She promised to support her, deal with her father, and even help her meet the wizard one day. Excited and hopeful, Elphaba sings, wishing that the wizard will see past her appearance and help her turn what feels like a curse into something good. In the hallways, everyone stares as Elphaba walks to Glinda's suite. The room is huge and packed with fancy luggage. Glinda, already suspicious, points out a tiny corner for Elphaba to sleep in.
Oh, I saved you some space, by the way. Just in here. It's great.
Elphaba just accepts it and starts unpacking. Glinda, fishing for praise, tells her to speak nicely about her to Madame Morrible and keeps asking how she caused the earlier chaos. Annoyed, Elphaba snaps that she doesn't know, and her words literally break a window.
How did you do it? Tell me, please. I can keep a secret. You know, I asked really nicely.
I don't know. I've never known.
That night, both write letters home and sing about how confusing their first days have been. Even trying to sleep is a challenge. Everything about the other person is irritating. Their differences only grow more obvious. Glinda loves the attention she gets, while Elphaba focuses on her work. Still, Madame Morrible keeps showing growing interest in Elphaba. In Dr. Dillamond's class, the goat professor tries to say Glinda's name but can only pronounce it as Glinda.
Miss Glinda.
Actually, it's Glinda.
Glinda gets annoyed and asks why he can't say it right when others can. Elphaba jumps in, reminding her that her name isn't the point of the lesson. Glinda shoots back with a sarcastic remark.
Dr. Dillamond is not like every other professor. Maybe some of us are just different.
It seems the artichoke is steamed.
And the tense exchange says everything before class continues. Dr. Dillamond tells part of Oz's history. Long ago, animals were treated as equals to humans. However, when food began to run short, they were blamed, leading them to be relegated and stripped of their humanity. As he tries to continue, an offensive message appears written on the blackboard. Animals should be seen and not heard. Outraged, he asks who wrote it, but no one responds. He decides to end the class and orders everyone to leave.
Class dismissed. Class dismissed.
Elphaba stays to help him, marking the beginning of a sincere friendship. Later, Elphaba attends Madame Morrible's classes, where she works on controlling her magic. Although progress is slow, during a conversation, Morrible mentions what happened in Dillamond's class, which ignites Elphaba's indignation. She expresses her desire to fight against rejection and discrimination. And while she talks about her contempt for prejudice, her magic intensifies, breaking a crystal with the coin she was supposed to move. Impressed, Morrible urges her to learn to control her emotions, which are the key to her power.
Once you learn to harness your emotion, it could lead you to the wizard himself.
On her way to her room, Elphaba sees Dr. Dillamond going into the forest and decides to follow him. She tries to ask if he discovered who wrote the insult, but he doesn't hear her and enters a cabin. From outside, Elphaba observes a meeting of academic animals from the university. The attendees discuss the injustices they suffer and the daily prejudices they face. Dillamond mentions a cow friend who had planned to meet him at a cafe to discuss an urgent matter but never arrived. She mysteriously disappeared. He points out dozens of animals have disappeared under similar circumstances. The meeting ends with a song that laments the loss of the abilities that defined them, like speech, and how they've been reduced to simple work tools. Panic takes over many, who decide to leave Oz while it's still possible. However, this situation awakens disturbing memories in our protagonist, who unintentionally attracts the attention of those present. Dr. Dillamond invites her in, ignoring the distrust of others. There, Elphaba discovers a terrible truth about what's happening to the animals. She suggests informing the Wizard of Oz, but Dillamond warns her not to reveal anything she has heard.
Animals are losing the ability to speak. Someone's got to tell the wizard.
You mustn't tell another soul what you've heard and seen here tonight.
Forced to return home with just a simple lamp, Elphaba encounters a strange man on horseback who almost runs her over. This man, named Fiyero, apologizes and, observing her skin, comments that he could have mistaken her for the forest.
You must have blended with the foliage.
Is this how you go through life? Just running amok and trampling anyone in your path?
No.
Offended, the young woman decides to continue on her way without responding. The next day, it's announced that Prince Fiyero will be the institution's new student. Glinda, anxious to stand out among the many girls fascinated by him, chooses her best outfit. When she approaches the prince, he's dazzled by her beauty, forgetting completely what he was doing. Fascinated, he shows interest in the girl, and Glinda flirtatiously takes advantage to give him a tour of the institution. In the library, Fiyero sees Elphaba and greets her, but she ignores his gesture and continues walking. The conversation between them is interrupted when Bok trips over some books and falls near them. Getting up, Bok introduces himself awkwardly, trying to appear confident in front of Fiyero.
Bok Woodsman of Munchkin Land.
Moments later, the prince begins talking about his mission, to teach his classmates to enjoy life instead of focusing on the empty knowledge of books. He even convinces the librarian to let him cause a commotion, and soon organizes a spectacle that captures everyone's attention, except Elphaba's, who watches, clearly disgusted by his attitude. Meanwhile, Bok, determined to impress Glinda, tries to approach her. However, she avoids him and persuades him to invite Nessa to that night's dance, suggesting it would make him the hero of the evening. Willing to please her, Bok goes to Nessa to extend the invitation. Shortly after, the girl looks for her sister to share the exciting news. Bok has invited her to the dance, and she's thrilled at the prospect of living the best night of her life, all thanks to Glinda's intervention. However, Elphaba isn't entirely convinced of her roommate's good intentions.
He said he was too shy to ask me out. Glinda emboldened him. Wait, don't you dare say another word against her. I'm about to have the happiest night of my life.
Upon arriving at the room, she decides to make an effort to get along with her. To her surprise, Glinda's friends were there talking about her. After the visitors leave, Glinda proposes that she join them at the dance, even offering to lend her elegant clothes. This gesture begins to make Elphaba feel more included. While students prepare for the dance, Elphaba goes to Madame Morrible's office to ask for a favor. In the ballroom, attendees enjoy giving their best steps, while the connection between Glinda and Fiyero becomes evident. Bok, however, can't take his eyes off the girl. Then, determined to confess to Nessa that he only invited her because Glinda asked him to, she interrupts him, assuring him she knows he invited her out of pity for her disability. Bok corrects her, affirming that wasn't the reason. But upon seeing Glinda and Fiyero sharing a kiss, he changes his version and tells her he invited her for her beauty, which revives Nessa's hopes. Bok, seeking to avoid more complications, invites her to dance. On the other hand, Morrible arrives at the dance and pulls Glinda away from Fiyero. In private, she gives Glinda a training wand as a gift. She thanks her for the trust Morrible seems to place in her, although the latter clarifies that she doesn't really trust her abilities. She reveals that it was Elphaba who requested that Glinda join the seminar, threatening to quit if her request wasn't accepted. The dean, to avoid problems, agreed to the demand.
Actually, I have no faith in you. Miss Elphaba has requested that I include you in our sorcery seminar, so she would quit. That that you do not have what it takes. I hope you prove me wrong. I doubt you will.
Elphaba shows up to the school dance wearing the bizarre outfit Glinda suggested. The whole room goes silent. Then everyone starts laughing at her. When she spots Glinda, she can see the guilt all over her face. Glinda even tries to hide the wand she used to help, but it's too late. Determined not to give anyone the satisfaction, Elphaba takes off the witch hat and walks onto the dance floor, moving to music only she can hear. Fiyero is impressed by her confidence, but Glinda knows it's all an act. Feeling awful, she joins Elphaba and dances with her, ignoring the whispers and side eyes. As they dance, Glinda quietly wipes Elphaba's tears. Eventually, the other students copy their moves, and that moment becomes the start of a real friendship. Soon, the two are sharing secrets and jokes. Glinda suggests they each reveal something personal, and casually announces she plans to marry Fiyero, but he just doesn't know it yet.
Fiyero and I are getting married.
He asked you already?
Oh, he doesn't know yet. How do they do that?
Elphaba doesn't share anything at first, so Glinda grabs a strange green bottle from under her pillow and asks about it. Elphaba panics and demands it back, saying it belonged to her mother. Glinda gets frustrated, feeling like she's opening up, but Elphaba isn't. So Elphaba finally tells the truth. Her father always blamed her for her sister. When their mother was pregnant with Nessa, he was terrified the baby would be born green too. So he forced her to drink milk flowers. It caused early labor, and their mother never woke up afterward. Elphaba has carried that guilt ever since, until Glinda gently tells her it wasn't her fault, but the milk flowers. With the arrival of Dawn, the girl decides to call her Elfie, and now that they're friends, declares she'll be her next project. She'll help her improve her image and gain confidence. She shows her dresses, shoes, makeup, and accessories with the intention of making her popular. However, Elphaba believes it's an impossible mission. Determined, Glinda teaches her how to flip her hair with style and uses her wand to try to transform her clothes into a ball gown. But her attempts fail. Finally, they conclude that the jacket she's wearing is pretty enough.
Ball gown. Seriously?
Do you need my help?
No, just wear the throat. It's pretty.
As the days pass, Elphaba begins to integrate with other students and put Glinda's advice into practice. Fiyero surprises her imitating the hair flip that Glinda taught her and assures her she doesn't need to change to please anyone. In a class with Dr. Dillamond, Elphaba tries to give him poppies, but he, visibly worried, asks her to sit down. He announces that this will be his last class, as animals have been forbidden to teach. At that moment, guards burst into the classroom and forcibly remove him. Outraged, Elphaba asks Miss Coddle to intervene, but she responds that there's nothing they can do. As he's being taken away, Dr. Dillamond regrets not having told them the whole story. Enraged, Elphaba questions her classmates if they won't do anything about such injustice. However, Coddle reprimands her and orders her to return to her seat. Immediately after, she presents the new history professor, who enters the classroom carrying a cage with a small, terrified feline inside. The professor explains it's an innovative solution that will be useful throughout Oz. Elphaba, indignant, asks why the creature is trembling, and he responds that it's from pure happiness. The professor explains that the greatest benefit of these devices is preventing animals from learning to speak. Elphaba's thoughts intertwine with reality, and visibly upset, she declares that someone must do something. Suddenly, the flowers she's carrying begin to float, releasing an aroma that puts almost everyone present to sleep. Except Fiyero. Without hesitation, he rushes to take the animal, and together with Elphaba, they head to the forest to free it. Meanwhile, Dean Madame Morrible enters the room, observing with astonishment what has happened, immediately recognizing that her student is responsible. She hastily writes a letter addressed to the Wizard of Oz in the Emerald City. In the forest, Fiyero is surprised by Elphaba's constant, unexpected actions, but his words are misinterpreted by her.
Why is it you're always causing some sort of commotion?
So you think I should just keep my mouth shut? Is that what you're saying? You think I want to be this way? You think I want to care this much?
After a brief exchange, the tension of the situation generates an uncomfortable connection between them. In the classroom, students begin to wake up. Glinda notices the absence of her boyfriend and her friend, who are still in the forest. There, both wonder why Fiyero didn't fall asleep like the others. Upon noticing a scratch on his face, she places her hand on it, intensifying the strange tension between them. The prince, uncomfortable, suddenly gets up and decides to find a safe place for the animal, leaving Elphaba affected and guilty for what she perceives as a betrayal of her friend. She later watches from afar as Fiyero, who is now her impossible love, reunites with Glinda. On a radiant morning, Dean Madame Morrible calls Elphaba with enthusiasm to inform her she has received a response from the Wizard of Oz. As soon as the letter reaches her hands, Elphaba rushes to read it. An invitation to the Emerald City. Morrible warns her that she must prepare to prove she deserves this opportunity, just as she did in her youth. Later, we see the train to the Emerald City arrive at the station. Nessa's father is there and meets the young man she's dating, visibly intimidating Bach.
My Nessa Rose is very precious to me. Take good care of her.
I understand.
Glinda says goodbye to Elphaba, lamenting her departure. Her friend assures her she won't be alone since she has Fiyero, though he hasn't shown up. The girl confesses she feels she no longer knows him. His behavior has changed since the day Dr. Dillamond was dismissed. At that moment, the prince arrives with firm steps and joins Glinda and Elphaba. With a kind tone, he expresses his best wishes to his girlfriend's friend and mentions he's been reflecting on that day. However, the tension between them is interrupted by Glinda, who, somewhat confused by what's happening, comments that she feels deeply affected by what happened with Dr. Dillamond. Inspired, she announces that in honor and solidarity with him, she'll change her name to Glinda.
I'm changing my name.
Your name?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes. Since Dr. Dillamond used to have his own goat-like way, pronouncifying my name, I will henceforth be known no longer as Glinda, but simply Glinda.
Applause fills the atmosphere, and Bach's enthusiasm stands out among everyone, which provokes Nessa's annoyance. Visibly upset, she quickly leaves, dismissing Bach's feelings. Before the train departs, Fiyero gives Elphaba a flower as a gesture of good luck and leaves without more, reinforcing Glinda's suspicions about her boyfriend's strange behavior. Despite everything, Glinda has learned to accept that he's not perfect, though she still loves him. Soon the others say goodbye to Elphaba. Many students wish her success on her visit to the Emerald City. As the train begins to move, Glinda gives her a pamphlet that moves her, and her friend convinces her to make the trip together.
Get on the train, you're gonna miss it!
I wouldn't want to impose. Why couldn't possibly? This is your moment. I'm coming.
Upon arriving, both are amazed by the vibrant atmosphere of the city, a place that seems to celebrate its history every day through beautiful theatrical works. The citizens are putting on elaborate shows and performances everywhere they look. In fact, they witness something called Wizomania, where performers celebrate and sing about how wonderful and great the wizard is in a spectacular musical number called One Short Day. Among the performers, there are even two special actresses who look strikingly familiar, telling the story of how the wizard first came to Oz and built the Emerald City. The whole experience fills Elphaba with hope and excitement about finally meeting the legendary wizard. Finally, they get permission to attend their meeting with the wizard. They are escorted through the Grand Palace with its impressive architecture and decorations. The two protagonists walk through the tense hallways until they reach an enormous mechanical head of the wizard hidden behind a curtain, speaking in a booming voice that intimidates Elphaba. She only finds courage to introduce herself thanks to Glinda's supportive presence and encouragement. When the wizard hears her name, the giant head stops moving, and suddenly he appears from behind the curtains as a regular man, surprising them both with one of his theatrical tricks and illusions.
Hang on, what's that?
What?
I'm so sorry, may I?
Sure,
Okay,
yes.
no, just...
The wizard proceeds to share his vision for a new Oz, a network of roads that ensure his inhabitants always find their way to him and the Emerald City. He seems genuinely warm and charismatic, even singing a song called A Sentimental Man about his feelings and his journey. As a symbol of his proposal, he gives Elphaba a token with his image on it, inviting her to consider the possibility of occupying a place by his side and feeling part of this home he's built. He even asks if she would like him to do something about her green skin, perhaps change it to a normal color. Without hesitation, Elphaba declines his offer about her skin and instead asks for help for the animals of Oz, explaining the difficult situation they face and the urgency of his support. The wizard, showing what appears to be genuine empathy and concern, responds that he had anticipated such a request from someone with her good heart. He promises to do something meaningful to alleviate her concern and help the animals. Suddenly, Madame Morrible appears in the castle. Elphaba receives her enthusiastically, but Madame Morrible, visibly uncomfortable with Glinda's presence, affirms she has come solely to witness her student's great moment. Everyone is presented with the Grimoire, the great book of wisdom, dramaturgy, and enchantments of Oz. It's an ancient and powerful artifact that holds the secrets of true magic. The wizards present, including Madame Morrible, understand the challenge Elphaba faces in attempting to invoke a spell from its pages. The book is written in a language that has been lost for generations, and no one has been able to read it in years. But the young woman insists they give her a chance to demonstrate her natural ability and prove she deserves to be there. The book opens before her, revealing a series of spells written in the lost language of ancient spells and incantations. With surprising skill and ease, Elphaba recites each word precisely, showing impressive mastery of the language that even she didn't know she possessed. However, with each word spoken, something unexpected begins to happen. The wizard's guard, a monkey named Chistry, seems to lose control of his body while the book's pages begin to shake and detach on their own, floating through the air. Elphaba was executing a spell designed so that a monkey could reach the birds it watches every morning from its post, a seemingly innocent and kind spell. Although the spell grants Chistery wings as intended, they emerge from his back with immense, unbearable pain that forces him to rise into the air with great difficulty. The monkey's suffering intensifies as the transformation continues, and his screams of agony fill the room, causing him to fall to the ground, writhing in pain. Desperate, Elphaba begs to know how to reverse the spell, but they explain it's not possible. Immediately, she hears the screams of the other guards, who have also been reached by the spell. While she watches in horror at the consequences of her actions, the wizards, in contrast, observe with fascination what they now call their new spies. Confused, Elphaba demands to know what they mean, and they explain that these winged monkeys will be explorers who will fly over Oz to watch the animals. Outraged, Elphaba deduces that the wizard is truly responsible for humans' hatred toward animals, all for his own benefit. Madame Morrible, according to him, planned this situation, arguing that the best way to unite people is by giving them a common enemy. Suspecting even more, Elphaba challenges the Wizard of Oz to read a spell from the Grimoire. When she realizes he can't do it, she accuses him of being a fraud without real powers, dependent on her to control all of Oz.
Read it. Cast a spell. You can't, can you? You have no real power.
Not even Glinda's attempts to calm her manage to stop her. In an outburst, Elphaba takes the book and leaves the room. The situation intensifies when Morrible threatens the guards with their family's well-being if they don't capture the green girl. Elphaba hides in the castle's hallways, but the winged monkeys find her. Glinda, distressed, begs her to return to dialogue with the wizards and resolve what she describes as a misunderstanding. However, dozens of guards are called to stop the fugitive, and they come rushing from every direction. The protagonists manage to reach a room where the wizard's hot air balloon is located, the very same balloon he used when he first arrived in Oz years ago. Elphaba climbs onto the device along with Glinda, and both struggle to take off the balloon while trying to evade the guards who are closing in on them. In the midst of chaos and panic, the hatch tears the balloon's fabric, causing it to deflate rapidly. But the girls manage to get to safety just in time, escaping to a higher level of the tower. Despite everything, Glinda continues trying to convince her to return and face the wizards. However, Elphaba firmly refuses. Frustrated, Glinda asks her to control her emotions and enjoy her recent triumph. But Elphaba, with a serious look, responds that the only ambitions of that type have always belonged to her. Both hear as Morrible announces to all the inhabitants of Oz that the fugitive has stolen the Grimoire, calling her the villain responsible for the atrocity that occurred with the monkeys. She accuses her of being a wicked witch, suggesting that the green in her skin reflects the deformity of her interior.
Her green skin is but an outward manifestorium of her twisted nature. This wicked witch.
These words fill Elphaba with deep helplessness and frustration. She clarifies firmly that she's not afraid of them or what they might do. Rather, it's the wizard who should fear her and what she's capable of. She rejects the idea of collaborating with those truly wicked wizards and their corrupt plans, and she makes it clear that she prefers to abandon her own dreams of fitting in and being accepted if that means doing what's right and standing up for those who cannot defend themselves. When she goes out to the balcony of the tower, she finds the villagers down below, all determined to find her and capture her. Before this threatening sight, Elphaba takes the Grimoire in her hands to invoke wings for herself. But she stops upon hearing Glinda's desperate pleas and cries. However, the witch's words seem to have had no effect on changing Glinda's mind. Soon the spell gives power to an ordinary cleaning broom that begins to levitate in the air, responding to Elphaba's magical energy. Desperate and emotional, Elphaba performs the powerful song Defying Gravity, where she asks her friend to flee together so they can make a real difference in the world. Despite Glinda's genuine enthusiasm for the idea and her love for her friend, her fear of the unknown and losing everything she has makes her refuse the offer, though she remains willing to help Elphaba in any other way she can from within the system. With a heavy heart full of sorrow, Elphaba takes her enchanted broom in her hands, her eyes full of tears over the imminent separation from her best friend and the loss of the life she thought she would have. As she watches the guards and inhabitants manage to break through and reach them in the tower, she hurries to make her escape. But in the chaos, Glinda is grabbed and trapped by the guards. Elphaba desperately tries to help her, but can't reach her without putting them both in danger. In a desperate act of survival, Elphaba crashes through a window on her broom, plummeting all the way down toward the ground far below. As she falls through the air, she sees something unexpected. In her reflection in the window glass, she sees herself as a small, frightened child, the scared little green girl she used to be. The vision of her younger self reaches out to her, and somehow this gives her the courage and strength she needs. She reaches out and grabs the flying broom firmly, then soars high back up into the sky with newfound confidence and power. Her magical powers cause a massive power surge across all of Oz, with lights flickering and energy crackling through the air. As she rises higher and higher, she declares with conviction and strength that the wizard is never going to bring her down, no matter what he tries. She is free now, and nothing will stop her from fighting for what's right. Glinda can only look up from the tower in profound sadness, watching her best friend fly away, while the rest of Oz now views Elphaba as a villain and public enemy.